teaching and entertaining. The repositories of our lore and legends. Stories unique to us are enriched with our personal experiences. And as a storyteller, we can bring them to life with our emotions and our feelings. The story I am about to tell you is a simple one and was remembered on finding a little green book that was once thought lost. When I found it again recently and opened it up, the memories came flooding back, and this is the story. The Cornish sky was slate grey. The cloud base was low. Rain had threatened all day, but it held off. The windsock stood lifeless on the edge of the airfield. The previous flight was eventful, uneventful and routine. On landing and coming to a stop, I heard nothing from the rear seat. The ground crew arrived and fussed around. And the glider creaked and shifted slightly as the instructor clambered out of the back seat, the safety straps clanking noisily against the seat back as he left. Standing beside the glider, he leaned in and squeezed my shoulder and said in a quiet but firm voice, "Off you go, boy." He turned and walked away. I took a deep breath, blew out my cheeks. Here we go. This is it. The weeks of training had come to this moment. In the distance, I could see a Land Rover dragging a cable behind it, heading my way. This one was for me. The pre-flight checks, learnt by rote, later understood, and repeated now like an automaton, tripped off the tongue. All correct and good to go. Looking up out of the cockpit now, the Land Rover had arrived. The cable was dragged over to the nose of the glider and swiftly connected. I gave a thumbs up to the boy on the wing and he lifted it to the horizontal. I gently gripped the control column and placed my feet firmly on the rudder pedals. This was it. Mouth dry, sweating palm. What could possibly go wrong? Nothing when you were young and fearless as I was. "Take up the slack!" I shouted, and a signal was made to the winch operator at the end of the runway. I could see the cable snaking through the grass in front of the glider, and then suddenly it became taut. I paused for a second and shouted, "All out!" Another signal was made, and after an initial jerk, the glider was moving swiftly across the grass. A gentle pull back on the stick and I was airborne. 100 feet, 150, 200, pulling the stick back a little at a time. The wind was singing through the spars of the glider, 400, 600, aiming for 1,000 feet, but the air was cold. There was no lift. 700, 800, the glider straining against the winch. I could feel it straining. 850, 900, 900, 900. There was no more height to be had. Time to break free. Pushing the stick forward to put slack in the cable, like coming over the top of a big wheel fairground ride. 2 sharp pulls on the yellow toggle, and we were free. The contrast to the speed and rush of the ascent, the straining and the singing of the glider as it clawed for height was palpable. It now felt so still, quiet, free, truly like a bird. I was the only one in the sky. Time to take this in very briefly before my first turn. In front of me was Mullion, and in the distance I could see Penzance. The coastline seemed pin-prick clear to my young eyes. Head back in the cockpit. Check height, the cold air meant low lift. It was time to turn. Look left, all clear. Left rudder, left aileron. A successful turn, and now I was heading out to sea. The English Channel in front of me. It looked cold and dark and uninviting, even darker contrasting grey against the clouds. Everything seemed routine. The flight was going well, even if it was only a few minutes long. Remembering my training and the airfield circuit planning, turning at the correct height points was key, and height was being shed quickly. I was at 600 foot. I looked to the left, clear, stick to the left rudder, and I was on my downwind leg. Out in front of me, the Lizard Peninsula, Cadgwith, and in the distance I could just make out the satellite dishes on Goonhilly Downs. To my left and below I could see the other gliders, vehicles and groups of people, the ground crews scurrying around for the next launch. But there wasn't time to enjoy the view. Things to do. I wasn't losing enough height for the next turn. Reaching for the yellow lever to my left, I pulled it and deployed the slats, which popped out above the wing. The glider snowed and the nose went up. Counter movements with the stick were required to prevent the glider stalling. Once the correct height was achieved, I pulled the lever to return the slats to their position. Turning onto the base leg, concentration now. Got to get this right for the approach to land. This was preparation for the final turn at the right height and distance, head in and out of the cockpit, checking height and looking for other gliders. All was good. The final turn came up quickly and I was on finals to land. Pick a spot, aim the glider at it, 6 foot from the ground, pull back on the stick, the round out, the glider would gently sink onto the grass. That was the theory. Or as I did, bounce on first contact, as I often did, on practice, and firmly come to a halt and terra firma. The flight complete. Ground crew arrived. I undid my straps and feeling of relief, excitement and elation, all mixed into one, flooded over me. My instructor appeared to meet me with a big grin on his face. He shook my hand and said, "Well done, you got down eventually," and laughed. We both did. Solo complete. Some weeks after that solo flight, a little green book arrived in the post, issued by the British Gliding Association to me on the 10th of October 1982. And here it is. I'm so pleased to find it recently after so many years and live that day as I've just described. I was just 16 at the time, and as the years have passed, much like many stories, some of the details may have been forgotten, emotions skewed, embellishments added, but it will always be my little green book and my story.